Korbyn.
It's Gabby, and we're bippity boppity back again. This is the second episode of Wish Upon This.
Woo. Today we're going to be talking about Pinocchio. Gabby, why don't you give us a quick summary?
Sure. So the movie was released in 1940, and a quick summary is a living puppet with the help of a cricket as his conscience must prove himself worthy to become a real boy.
It opens a lot like Snow White with the storybook opening, but they kind of switched it up. Jiminy Cricket is singing a little song and he has a spotlight.
By the way, the iconic Disney song.
Yes.
When You Wish Upon a Star. This is where this song came from. Didn't know that, by the way.
I didn't either. Oh, I gotta say, I had never seen this movie, I don't think. As a child, for the better, probably. The only thing I remembered about it was that at some point the characters are swallowed up by a whale.
Okay, I didn't remember that at all. The only thing I remembered about this movie, this story, is that when Pinocchio lies, his nose grows.
Yeah.
And obviously, we'll talk about it when it comes, but that is not the whole point of the movie like I thought it was.
I thought the same thing, that was like the thing that he was a liar.
Yeah.
But it's really not.
It opens with, again, another storybook. But like you said, it was Jiminy Cricket.
Yes, and he's singing, and then it does this really cool, like where it goes into the book.
Well, and I actually thought, so, it wasn't like Snow White's storybook opening, because it was animated, whereas Snow White's was like live action.
Page. Yeah.
And it was kind of cute, because like Jiminy Cricket, he like turned the page, and it started closing again, and he had to like use a candlestick.
Oh, yeah.
You really get an introduction to his character where he's very much like, when you see the rest of the movie, he's kind of, I guess you can describe him as happy-go-lucky, maybe?
Yeah.
He doesn't really care much.
What's funny is, like, the movie opens with him, and he's kind of like, in the whole first 30 minutes, we're almost watching it from, like, his point of view, in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he, like, goes into this house. He's a vagrant of sorts.
Well, there's actually something I wanted to mention. So when he hops into the storybook,
yeah,
he's like a traveler. That's what he calls himself, and he goes to this village, and the camera angle is from like his POV. He's like, so I hopped on over to this house, and the shot is you're seeing like his POV hopping. It was like you're following this cricket hopping.
Yeah.
I thought that was cute.
I did too.
Also, he's singing the song. What a soulful voice.
Yeah.
Jiminy Cricket is soulful.
He is. His clothes are all tattered, and he's like, I just need a place to sleep for the night. And so he picks the weirdest house on the block. Freaking Geppetto is...
So, he called it a wood carver's house or something
he's
like
a woodworker.
Yeah.
And well, first you see all these clocks.
Yeah, you see like wooden clocks and toys.
Yeah, so he's like
He makes
like
things.
Whimsical little...
He's a whimsical little man.
Yeah,
honestly.
he is.
It's kind of like Snow White, where he kind of barges in.
Well, at least he's just
with
like a bug.
He has no permission. He goes into like a crack in the door. And I was like, oh, so this is like a reoccurring theme so far. That Disney characters just walk into houses that people obviously live in.
I think I wrote down that he was giving Goldilocks for a second. But, okay, so he's like, I'm just going to sleep here for the night.
He's also doing like a voiceover narration.
Yeah.
At this point.
Geppetto, before he goes to sleep, he's putting the finishing touches on Pinocchio. So he's like dancing him around the room. It's very... Like, when it first cuts to Pinocchio on the shelf, it was like a jump scare. I was like, oh.
You were scared?
Because he has no, like...
Oh.
All he has is those big blue eyes.
Baby blues.
And he's just, like, like, limp on the
He's not alive
shelf.
yet.
Yeah, so he's, like, dancing it around, and what's the cat's name? Oh, Figaro. He's like, oh, meet Pinocchio, and then... To the fish, he's like, oh...
The fish is named Cleo.
Yeah. I think something I noticed, like, in the first part where Geppetto is, like, playing with Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket is, like, so worried about being seen. I'm like, you're so tiny.
He's literally the tiniest little creature I've ever seen.
He's like, oh. Every time, like, his hand reaches, he's like, I'm gonna be seen. Like, just.
He doesn't care later on, though.
Yeah, I'm like, just hide better. I don't know.
You can
so
fit
small.
into any crack.
Yeah.
Or go back outside until Geppetto goes to bed. Okay, so Geppetto is literally just a kindly old man who makes toys and clocks.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
Maybe a little lonely. He wants a child.
Yes, he is definitely lonely. Has Geppetto been lonely his whole life? I assumed he had a wife and son who died.
Very sad. I was kind of like, as I was watching it, a little worried for his sanity. Because
You thought he was crazy?
I did a little bit.
I didn't. I just thought he was kind.
Yeah, I mean, you could be crazy and kind.
You're right.
I was just like,
Exhibit A.
he's a little... he's a little off his rocker, maybe. So, he goes to bed. Cleo, he, like, tells the fish goodnight. He tells...
It's very sweet.
I know, it is very sweet. And then, so he goes to bed, and then... Figaro, he's like, hey, I was asleep. Can you go open the window,
Wait,
please?
you skipped my favorite part.
What?
Figaro has his own bed.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Like a human bed, but for the cat. They might not get this. Figaro reminds me of a lot of Whitaker.
Yeah.
My cat. I have a cat, Whitaker. He's just like Figaro. He's fat.
He's a little
Maybe we'll put it.
Yeah.
We'll show you a picture. We'll put it on Instagram or something.
Figaro gets up, he opens the window, and then he makes a wish. He's like, oh my gosh, the shooting star, or the wishing star.
The wishing star.
Yeah.
Not the North Star, that's Peter Pan.
Yeah. And then, so he makes a wish, wishing that Pinocchio was a real boy.
Yep, he wants Pinocchio to be a real boy.
Yep. And then the blue fairy.
Out of everything he could have wished for his son. If his son is dead, hey, bring my son back to life. How about that?
The blue fairy appears, and she makes Pinocchio a real boy, and Pinocchio wakes up, and he's like, what's going on? I'm not here.
He's actually like,
And then she gives him a very stern set of rules. She's like, because he's got to be like, he looks little. He's like 5.
He's teeny tiny.
And she's like, okay, if you want to become real, you have to be unselfish.
You want to hear exactly what I wrote it down.
Please, yes.
She goes, you have to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. When she said that, I said, oh, that's a lot to ask of a little boy.
Who
First
was
of all,
literally just born.
First of all, a boy in general, it's hard to ask him to be brave, truthful, and unselfish. Truthful is a big one. Men deal with that. Have to struggle with that. And yeah, this is his first time experiencing life.
Yeah, and she's like, does he even know what that means?
I have to also just interject. The fairies animation I thought was really cool.
I think it's rotoscope.
What's rotoscope?
So they basically, I don't know exactly, but it's what they did with the people in Snow White, like when they're dancing. So they basically copy over a live taping. So someone is actually
had like
doing
a live action model.
Yes, and they like trace over it.
I also thought it was really cool animation because she was like see-through, which I was like, that had to be so hard to animate because I'm assuming, first of all, drawing see-through, you have to draw what's behind them too and keep it in the right. So they learned a lot, I think, from Snow White by the time they got to Pinocchio.
And that was only like, I think that was only like 3 years, right?
Yeah, when was Snow White? 1937? This is 1940, and they work on this movie at least a year before they make it, probably more. So Pinocchio is expected to be brave, truthful, and unselfish.
Yeah, some heavy burden placed upon him right as he opens his eyes for the first time.
He don't even know what's going on. The Blue Fairy asks Jiminy Cricket to be Pinocchio's conscience. Jiminy Cricket gets new clothes. He doesn't look like a hobo anymore. The Blue Fairy waves her wand, and he's wearing like a cute top hat and tuxedo. So yes, he's been charged with being Pinocchio's conscience, telling him right and wrong. Again, this is a cricket who had just broken into a house.
Oh my god.
He's in his house without permission. mission, and he knew he was wrong because he was afraid of getting caught. What a name for your conscience, though, Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, I love that name.
I want to name my conscience
Jiminy Cricket?
No, I want to give it a different name.
What would you name it?
I'll think about it. Ask me later.
Okay.
Ask me at the end of the episode. Oh, a song. We also get a song where Jiminy Cricket is basically talking about he's teaching Pinocchio how to whistle. And I thought, oh, okay. Walt Disney must have really liked whistling. Because Snow White, there was Whistle While You Work.
Yeah.
And now there's a whole song in Pinocchio about learning to whistle. I thought it was cute. The whole thing about this whole movie so far, I thought it's been really cute. It's really, I think it's funny.
I liked the opening scene.
Pinocchio does something. He like trips over something and crashes into something in the house.
Yeah.
Wakes Geppetto up. Geppetto grabs a gun.
He was strapped. Well, first he lights a match with his butt. I was like,
that was with his foot.
Oh.
It was with his shoe.
I was like,
his shoe.
I literally thought he opened that with like.
There were a few butt jokes in this movie, though.
Yeah.
In these early movies, there's going to be a lot of things that don't fly in children's movies today.
Yeah.
And this is one of them. It's a literal gun. He shoots the gun on accident. He gets scared and he.
It was so funny because the way that he is, you would not expect him.
No, he keeps a gun. He's strapped under his pillow.
I know. Does he have enemies?
Something funny that happened when Geppetto was first discovered Pinocchio was alive. He was going, no, and Pinocchio went, yeah, and he went, no, and Pinocchio went, yeah, I'm alive.
It's me.
It's me. And that's when he was like, oh my god, yay! And did they dance around this time? Probably. They danced a lot. So he sends them to school.
Okay, so this is where the movie goes downhill for me. Because he sends this little boy who was literally born yesterday out into the streets alone, only an apple and a cricket.
And by the way...
he doesn't even know about the cricket.
By the way, Pinocchio's a wooden boy.
Yeah.
He will get bullied. He will get bullied. So, okay, Geppetto lets Pinocchio walk alone to school, like you said.
He gets kidnapped immediately.
On his way there, we see two, like...
It's a fox and a cat.
Yes, a fox and a cat.
The only humanoid animals in this movie.
So, yeah, you have Jiminy Cricket, the fox whose name is Honest John, and the cat is named Gideon.
Starts scheming.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he sees that there is going to be
a marionette
show, and he's like, I gotta get Pinocchio in that.
Because he's like, a puppet without
strings.
This is going to make me so much money. So he tells Pinocchio, hey kid, you want an easy way to get rich? Join the theater. Become an actor. You want to know how to get rich quick? Be an actor.
Something I noticed about Honest John, he is like the theater kid final form. He is so, like, he's so animated.
Yes,
and like...
Yeah. Because he's the villain. As we learned so far, villains are allowed to be dramatic and animated in Disney movies. Protagonists, not so much. By the way,
protagonists are only allowed to be dumb. Like,
yeah. Okay, so Honest Jack and Gideon are able to do this to Pinocchio because Jiminy left Pinocchio. Like, walked ahead of him or something. I'm like, wow, guess what, Conscience? He just got kidnapped.
Seriously, he's the worst.
No, he is.
So he's like, oh my gosh, do I try to go get him? Or do I tell Geppetto that instead of going to school, Pinocchio went off to the theater? And then he goes, no, that would be snitching.
Yes.
Word for word.
I was like, what do you mean snitching? Pinocchio is getting
kidnapped. He's kidnapped.
But the way Jiminy is acting is he's not acting like Pinocchio's getting kidnapped. He's acting like Pinocchio's like playing hooky from school.
So he gives up like immediately.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to tell Geppetto, let me go. He tries to run after them. You'll like this. A lot of physical comedy in this movie. I know you love your physical comedy.
Yeah.
Although talkies have been around for a while at this point.
Well, I feel like this one is more like more of a mix.
It's more funny than Snow White was.
We get to the theater, and we get our second villain. Well, I guess third. I don't count Giddy.
Yeah, second villain.
So our second villain, he.
Stromboli.
Yes, and he.
I think that's the name of an Italian dish.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It is.
So, very. It's very like J.K. Rowling naming.
If there was an Italian character in Harry Potter,
Stromboli, Geppetto.
He'd be named
Figaro.
Stromboli Alfredo.
My least favorite thing about this second villain is he's so loud.
That was your problem with him?
All he's doing is screaming. I mean, that wasn't my main problem. That was what I noticed instantly.
Yeah, he's screaming. I think it's like a caricature of Italians. I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So that one.
Unfortunately, there are some. In all these early Disney movies, there's going to be moments where we have to say, "Oh, this is unfortunately not."
Something they wouldn't do today. Certainly.
Yes, it's not right.
Yeah.
Jiminy arrives to the performance, and he's like, "I'm gonna watch it, because I'm gonna watch Pinocchio fail."
Pinocchio comes out immediately, face plants, falls down a bunch of stairs. At first, Stromboli is really mad, and he's screaming. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you suck!" But then the crowd is laughing, and he's like, "Oh wait, you're gonna get me money."
Yeah.
And then Jiminy is like, "Well, I guess he's a big hit. He doesn't need me anymore."
Yes.
Okay, well, you were helping him anyway.
Like, he was upset that Pinocchio didn't fail. Which, I mean, yeah, I don't want Pinocchio to do well at this either. But I was like, what the heck? What did I write down? I was very sad watching this performance. We get another song, There Are No Strings on Me. Or something about, he's singing about how he's stringless. And it was like a happy, upbeat song, and Pinocchio's like dancing around with puppets with strings that aren't alive. And I was like, this is so sad to watch, because Pinocchio was kidnapped and brought here, and he's performing, I don't want to say against his will, because
he doesn't know what's going on.
He doesn't know what's going on. So it is kind of against his will. I don't think he got to make a conscious decision. He's kind of going along with what people are telling him at this point. So it made me very sad.
But then we cut back to Stromboli's trailer, and Pinocchio's like, "Okay, I gotta get home."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're not going home." Pinocchio thinks he's joking. So they start laughing, and then he throws him in a cage and locks it. I was like...
That was insane. We go back to Geppetto's house, and Geppetto had cooked like a feast, and he's like, "Where's Pinocchio? He's been gone all day." And so Geppetto decides to go out and look for Pinocchio.
That was such a sad shot of him walking in the rain looking for him.
Yes.
I was like, what is this movie?
He has now lost, like, presumably, two children.
So he's like, and then Jiminy, a change of heart, I guess, he's like, "I'm gonna go back, I'll tell him goodbye and good luck." So he goes back and he realizes that Pinocchio's in this cage, so he's trying to pick the lock.
This was funny.
And he's like, "Oh, this must be an old model."
Yeah.
So insinuating that he's picked a few locks in his time.
Yeah, Jiminy, he's a complicated character, we could say.
And then Jiminy again gives up immediately, and he's like, "Yep, nothing I can do. I guess we're just stuck here." And then the blue fairy comes back.
Queen. Literally.
She should have.
There's a lot of moments she should have intervened that she doesn't.
But
guess what? We'll get to that.
So she comes back. She's like, "Pinocchio, you're not doing the right thing. You were supposed to go to school." And then this is where the nose growing, the one and only time that his nose grows, is she's like, "So why didn't you go to school?" And he's like, "These big men, these
like monsters.
Yeah, these monsters, they kidnapped me." His nose grows. And he's like, "Oh, they put me in a sack." Nose grows. And then he doesn't realize his nose is growing until it's there's like a bird's nest on it. He's like, oh wait, my nose.
A couple of birds literally hatch in the nest. And he's like, why is my nose like this? And she's like, you lied. You lied to me. What did I tell you to be? Truthful.
Yep.
Every time you lie, your nose is going to grow. And he's like, oh my God. What do I do? She said, don't lie anymore. I'll fix your nose this one time. I'll help you out this one time. And she does. She waves her wand. His nose goes back to normal. The cage opens. She disappears.
And so does he. Him and Jiminy are free. Only to immediately again be kidnapped by Honest John. Or coerced.
Kidnapped, coerced.
He's walking back to...
He's running home.
Yeah.
And him and Jiminy are so excited. I don't remember. I think it was Jiminy who's like, I'll race you there.
Yes.
Jiminy runs ahead of Pinocchio. Leaves Pinocchio behind again.
He's the worst.
I was like, stop leaving this kid behind.
So Honest John finds him. Well, before this. So they escape. Honest John is talking to this creepy... Our third villain.
Yes.
I didn't even get his name.
I didn't get his name. We can call him the Creep.
The Creep.
He's a creep.
So Honest John is talking to the Creep, and he's like, yeah, look at all this money I got for this little wooden boy. Mm-hmm. And he shows the smallest coin purse. And the guy's like, well, you want to make even more money? I'm collecting stupid little boys. I said, oh my.
This is insane. So, I think the moral of this movie is stranger danger.
Yeah.
It is literally, yeah. It's not about, like, being brave, truthful, unselfish, whatever it was. No, this movie is literally warning children.
Do not talk to strangers.
Don't. This creep is literally like, yeah, I'm taking little boys to Pleasure Island. Yeah. Okay.
I thought, because again, I haven't seen this movie.
I don't remember any of this.
I was so like, what is about to happen? I had no context, so when he said that, I was like,
are they gonna go there? To that point in this movie?
Yeah.
Is he a literal, like, child predator? I thought so.
It felt like that's what, but I think he's more of like a...
Like a metaphor?
Like a metaphor for, like, child labor.
Yeah, that's probably what it is, but it felt... okay.
So, Honest John intersects Pinocchio as he's racing Jiminy Cricket home. And he's like, hey, you're sick. I need to take you... You need a vacation. So he's, like, doing all of this, like, these tests. He's like, say hippopotamus. And he's like, hippopotamus. Yeah. He's like, just as I thought.
Yeah.
What did he say he had?
Dang.
He said he had something very...
I don't know. What did he say? Dang, I should have written it down.
But, so...
At this point in the movie, though, when I was watching it, I couldn't take any notes because I was so, like...
I was...
I have, like, no notes from this because I literally was in shock.
Something I did write down was... So, Giddy is playing, like, the doctor.
Yeah.
And he's like...
Oh, yeah.
He hands him a thing of scribbles.
He's like writing on a notepad, like this, and then he runs out of room on the notepad, so he just keeps writing off of the notepad, like, in the air. It was funny. Not a funny moment in a very not funny part of the movie.
Honest John is like, you need a vacation to Pleasure Island. You're not going to have any responsibilities, whatever. It should be said that while Pinocchio's like, okay, Honest John is not really giving him a choice. So I don't think this is much of a conscience issue.
No.
As it is that if he says no, they're just going to take him anyway.
Yeah. I mean, true. But I think the whole thing is, like, teaching if something feels strange, like, go get help or run away or something.
But even if you, like, even as he's trying to, every time he tries to walk away,
yeah,
he grabs him.
That's true, he does. Oh, yeah, he does.
So I'm like, I feel like they try to frame it as, like, Pinocchio keeps choosing the wrong thing to do, and that's why he's being punished with all of these bad things that are happening, And I'm like, I just don't see it that way because I feel like they're gonna, because money is at stake every time, they're gonna take him no matter what. It cuts to him on this wagon with a bunch of other kids.
Bunch
and
of
they're
little
all
boys.
Excited, yes.
And I just want to point this out now because it becomes important later. This wagon, which is being driven by the creep, is being pulled by donkeys. Keep that in mind. It becomes important later. So they get to Pleasure Island, and it's like introduces this like haven for little boys.
Yeah, it's like a carnival.
So I wrote down, I said, okay, so things that boys like. And these are all things that are on Pleasure Island for them to do. Fighting, smoking, destruction, and drinking.
He meets a friend named Lampwick. And they're playing pool, and Lampwick's all like, oh yeah, no responsibilities. This kid is like a pool ingenue.
He is. He's making shots I've never seen before.
He's doing things that have never been done. And he is smoking, they're both smoking cigars. And he's like...
drinking beer.
And he's telling Pinocchio, he's like, oh, why don't you smoke it like a real man?
Yeah, because Pinocchio was taking like little like he was taking small puffs. Because he doesn't know how to smoke. He's probably never seen anybody smoke before this.
And he takes like a really big puff. And he gets nicotine high.
Yes, he gets sick. He turns green. And I'm like, yup.
And that's when...
shows you right.
Jiminy Cricket finds him once more. And he's like, oh my gosh, Pinocchio, what are you doing?
Yeah. He finally decides to be a conscience. And he's like, you shouldn't be doing this. Let's get home to your father. And
Pinocchio's like, Lampwick just told me you only live once. And he told me I need to have fun.
Literally, he did say, boys only live once, or something like that. You only live once. I said, YOLO. So Jiminy Cricket left at this point because he got mad. So he's like, if you want to... I wrote this down because I was like, oh my gosh. Jiminy calls him and he's like, if you want to be a jackass. I said...
A little foreshadowing.
I said, in a kids movie? They said a bad word. And this is when
he sees the little kids. Okay, so they're being turned into donkeys.
That's the whole thing about Pleasure Island.
Yeah, they're being turned into donkeys and they're getting put in these crates that are labeled for the salt mines.
Yes. That is exactly why I'm like, okay, this is a metaphor for child labor.
Yeah.
Because it's like kids, I think, did historically work in salt mines.
In like factories
and
stuff like
things
that.
like that. But and watching it through today's lens, it's like, oh, this is a metaphor for trafficking.
Jiminy Cricket is seeing this play out, and he's like, oh, wow, he's turning kids into donkeys. And then this really sad scene, the donkey could still talk. And he's like, I want to see my mommy. It
was so sad. When he said, I want my mommy, I was like, this is the point in the movie that I was watching it like this. I was like, it's hard to kind of...
It's very, like...
It's dark.
Disturbing.
It's disturbing, it's dark. It's an important message, I think. But, oh my god.
So, Jiminy's like, oh, I gotta go save Pinocchio. So, Pinocchio and Lampwick
they're still playing pool, drinking beer, smoking cigars.
So Lampwick pours them two tall boys.
Right.
And he starts drinking it, and he sprouts donkey ears and a tail.
And Pinocchio's like, whoa.
Pinocchio sees that. He pushes his drink away.
He's like, I'm getting drunk.
But he already took a sip.
Yeah.
So
Is that what it is? Is
yeah.
it the beer? Oh, I was wondering. That was one of my questions. I was like, how did he turn them into donkeys when they drink the beer?
Yeah. That's
why Pinocchio didn't turn... Okay.
Yeah, because he didn't drink it all, so he, pushed it away because he saw that happening.
Okay.
And then Lampwick turns full donkey, and he starts busting up the room, and Pinocchio's like...
It's so scary.
Yeah.
You see his, transformation through, a shadow. You see him grow the ears normally and the tail, and then it cuts to, Pinocchio's reaction, and then his shadow's like looming over Pinocchio, and you see him, literally his shadow transform from a boy into a donkey. And he's making like the donkey noises instead of talking. It's really, it's disturbing.
Jiminy comes back, and he's like, we gotta get you out of here before anything else happens.
Uh-huh.
Pinocchio does sprout ears and a tail, but nothing else.
I had a question about this. If Pinocchio's not a real boy, that's kind of the whole thing. He's made of wood. I don't think he should be turned into a donkey. I don't think it should work on him.
I agree.
He's not a real boy.
I had the same thought.
For the plot.
Yes, it's for the plot. So, they're running off, they're climbing this, like, hill, these rocks, and they escape.
Mm-hmm.
He dives into the water.
Yeah.
And they swim back, they get home.
Oh.
He gets home. Nobody's home. He realizes, because there's, like, cobwebs, so it's obvious that Geppetto has not been home for a minute.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he got sad and he probably like moved because there was too many bad memories for him.
Yeah, I was like, he's just been out. My thought was like, he's just been out looking for him.
Yeah.
No. He gets a letter from the sky, presumably from the Blue Fairy.
Yeah.
That says Geppetto is inside of a whale. How did he get there? Never explained.
I was gonna ask this. I was like, what was Geppetto doing to be swallowed by a whale?
Like, maybe he was on a boat, sailing, looking around for...
Maybe he heard of Pleasure Island. Because to get to Pleasure Island, it's an island. They took a boat.
Oh.
So maybe Geppetto was like, he overheard something like, hey, little boys get taken to this place. Maybe he tried to sail, because we see later, you do find him in the whale. He's on like a ship.
Yes.
Maybe he sailed trying to find Pleasure Island and the whale swallowed him on the way.
Okay, yeah, because we do overhear about the whale that the whale, like, eats ships whole. So.
Yeah, this, like, fearsome, our fourth villain of this movie, Monstro.
Literally, everyone in this movie is villainous.
The only good people are the Blue Fairy. Maybe.
I don't even think she's... I think she's more, like, ambivalent.
Because she lets those boys be turned into donkeys.
Yeah.
So I guess Geppetto's a good guy. Pinocchio doesn't know any better. He's a good guy.
Jiminy, I mean...
I guess by default.
But, like, literally everyone else, any other adult character, is a villain.
Yes.
I've never seen a movie with so many villains.
It was... I didn't even know how to...
It was like, okay, first act, here's one villain. Second act, two villains.
Uh-huh.
Third act, we've got our last and scariest, the whale.
You think? Well, yeah, okay.
Because I am really scared of the sea.
I was gonna say the creep was the scariest, but
okay, yeah. I mean, for me personally, since I'm not a little stupid boy,
right?
The whale.
You're more likely to get swallowed by a whale than taken by the creep. I got you.
So they're like, okay, well, we gotta find this whale. They go underwater. They put, I mean, pretty smart.
Pinocchio uses his donkey tail, which he still has at this point.
Yeah, to tie a
ears
rock.
And his tail. Yeah.
And so they're like walking and they're meeting fish. I actually like this scene. I thought it was really cute.
Uh-huh.
But like, so they're asking everybody.
I was gonna say about the animation here. Really, really good underwater animation.
Yeah.
For a movie that's decades before The Little Mermaid.
And there was this one scene where Jiminy asks a clam if they've seen Monstro. And the clam like freaks out, which is everybody's reaction, and he gets spit back out by the clam. And he's in this bubble, and he breaks through it to grab his hat, and then the bubble fills up with water. And he's like,
I'm gonna drown.
I'm like, you're already underwater.
Okay, I understand how Pinocchio is breathing underwater. He's wood.
Yeah.
He doesn't have lungs. How is Jiminy Cricket breathing underwater? And this is why I think a theory of mine is Jiminy Cricket's not real. Like, he's like a figment of somebody's imagination. Or he's like some kind of...
Like
a spiritual creature. You know, like, I don't think he's an actual cricket.
That's fair. Like, what are they? Imaginary friends?
Maybe imaginary friends,
because
yeah.
the Blue
Guardian
Fairy
Angel.
is the only other person that acknowledges him. Everybody there, they're like, hey, have you seen Monstro? And everyone's like, ah, and they run away.
Yeah.
So
You're
finally,
afraid of this whale.
yeah, which
He swallows ships whole.
yeah. So fair enough. So we go back to Geppetto, and he's like, we haven't eaten for weeks," and then they're waiting for the whale to eat, and he finally eats some fish, and they catch some fish.
Yeah, they're like fishing over the side of their like half-wrecked ship. Him and Figaro the cat. Cleo's the fish is there too. He brought his whole little family with him on this ship.
They're
it's
like,
cute.
Yeah, it was
It's
very cute.
It's cute.
As this is happening, this is when Pinocchio and Jiminy are find Monstro,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh my gosh, he's gonna swallow us." Wasn't that the
That
point?
was the whole point, because they know that Geppetto was swallowed. Also,
So-
if I heard that somebody was swallowed by a whale, I wouldn't assume that they're still alive.
Well, the note said he was still alive.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
So now they're running away from the
run
whale
away from Monstro.
that they've been looking for 10 minutes. I was like, dude, wasn't that the point, to get swallowed up? I get that it's like scary to get swallowed up
but like
by a whale.
you trying to.
But that was like,
The
that
whole
was
point.
your intention, no?
Yes, you're trying to get inside of him. Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, why are you running?
Why are you, no, literally that came to my head too.
Why are you running? Why are they mining? Why are you running? Where?
So he gets sucked up, and then he grabs onto the fishing line that Geppetto has while he's trying to catch fish inside the whale.
Mhm.
And he
Very smart plan.
yes, he flies him over into the fish,
Uh-huh.
the thing that he's keeping the fish in. And he's like, "Papa, Father, I'm here."
Yeah.
And then he grabs the fish
Well,
and he
first-
kisses the fish.
Well, at first he says, "Father, I'm here." Geppetto's like, "Not now, Pinocchio. I'm trying to fish."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God!" Yeah, he runs and he thinks he's grabbing Pinocchio to kiss him. He grabs a tuna. Very
Cute
funny.
little man.
Cute little. They're reunited.
Yeah, cute
Yeah.
little goofy goober.
He's been trapped in a whale for a long time.
He says weeks.
Yes. He's
So that, like, shows
Eating-
that Pinocchio has also been gone for weeks.
on Pleasure Island for that long, I guess. But it felt like it was only for one night. Oh, but maybe timeline's a little fuzzy.
Maybe Pleasure Island is, like hard to get to.
Maybe.
Like it takes a minute to get
Yeah.
to. So Pinocchio's like, "We gotta get out of here." And Geppetto is like, "No way out. I can't. I've tried. I built a raft. That's all I did. There's no way to
Yeah,
get out."
I don't know how else he
Yeah.
tried to escape. Well, he does say he's like,
Things come in, nothing goes out.
because like the water's rushing in, but Pinocchio finds a way.
Well, meanwhile, the cricket, Jiminy, is alive and well, trying to get inside the whale.
Oh, that's right.
He's like banging on the teeth. He's
stuck
like,
outside.
"Hey, let me in."
Yeah, he can get through a crack in the door. He can't get through a crack in a whale's teeth.
I know
Alright.
that whale's missing a tooth.
That's
somewhere.
gotta be.
He doesn't have dental.
He doesn't have dental insurance.
Yeah.
They don't have good. They don't have good doctors under the sea.
Yeah. So Pinocchio comes up with a plan, a actually very good plan for how dumb he's been this whole movie.
Yeah, he like gets smart all of a sudden.
He's like,
Since
"I
when
have
you
a
made good
plan."
decisions?
I feel bad.
It's
hasn't been
his
dumb.
first life.
Yeah, he's little. Okay.
He's experienced.
So he comes up with a plan that's a very good plan, more than I was expecting from him.
Yeah, it's a very good plan.
He's like, "Let's light everything on fire."
yeah, no, literally.
He said the smoke will make the whale sneeze
Yeah, and that way something's finally coming
out. And it does, it works. I
He-
mean, it takes a couple tries because they keep getting sucked back in.
Yes.
Finally, it seems like they're free. No, this whale took that very personal.
He did. It was like I think it was like a knock to his ego.
Yeah.
Because he's like this really feared monster. His name is Monstro. Every creature under the sea is scared of him. But this little boy, this little wooden boy, and this old man were able to escape. So he chases them.
Yeah. They're on this little raft made of nothing. And then that gets broken up. And then they're just free swimming. And
Yeah, they're
a whale
out
is
swimming
after-
a whale.
How somehow they outswim a whale to the shore.
And I'm not even talking like they had some help swimming. No, they weren't. Pinocchio
Geppetto's out.
Geppetto gets knocked out cold.
And it's just Pinocchio dragging him to
With
the shore.
one arm. He's out swimming a
He's
whale.
butterflying.
With the tide against him.
They get onto the beach. Geppetto's waking up and he's like, "Don't worry about me, little boy." The fish and
Oh yeah,
Figaro also
and Cleo
okay.
somehow made it to the beach too.
Yeah. So he's like waking up. He's like, "Don't worry about me, Pinocchio. I'm gonna be okay. I need you to be okay." Jiminy's like, "Where is Pinocchio?"
Missing
Searching
in
the
action.
beach.
MIA.
Jump cut. Pinocchio face down in a puddle.
Yes, I was like, Pinocchio's dead.
And yeah, he died.
Looked dead. Oh yeah, I guess he did die. He did. Well, it's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah,
But I think it's like he died,
he died. So
so the real boy could live.
we go back to Geppetto's house and he's mourning him.
Pinocchio's like laying on the bed.
Spread eagle. Spread eagle.
That's why I told you you're not allowed to spread eagle anymore.
Oh. So he's like dead.
It's not funny.
So the blue fairy comes back, finally, and she's like, "Hey, guess what? You met the criteria."
You are brave. Okay, let's go through the criteria. Did Pinocchio? Did he prove himself to be a real boy? Is he brave? I would say
Yes.
he proved his bravery after the whale thing. Is he truthful? I think Geppetto had asked him in the ship, "How did you get here?" And he told Geppetto the truth.
Well, he was like acting all bashful,
Mm-hmm.
and then Geppetto was like, I actually don't care."
Yeah, he's like, it doesn't matter. So, did Pinocchio prove himself to be truthful?
He never lied again.
Yeah, he never lied again. Lies by omission.
And then what was the
Unselfish. I don't think he was ever very selfish.
Yeah,
So
I don't
I
think
wouldn't
so.
even say that he. Yeah, I'd say he's unselfish because he was never selfish. So did he prove? Do you think he proved himself to be a real boy?
I do.
Yeah.
He saved his dad and
And his cricket.
his cricket.
And the cat and the fish saved themselves.
Independent women.
I think the cat's a boy.
Maybe Figaro is a boy.
I don't know. So the blue fairy turns Pinocchio into a real boy.
And it's the same kind of thing. He's like, "Dad, why are you crying?" And he's like, "'Cause you're dead." And he's like, "No, I'm not."
I'm right here. I'm a real boy.
And he's like, "Oh, Pinocchio, you're alive."
And it's happily ever,
Ever after,
after?
yeah.
Question mark?
And guess what? We gotta get you to school tomorrow. Jiminy Cricket gets a medal at the end.
Yeah, for what? What did he do?
Nothing.
I really don't think he did anything. I don't think there's one moment when he acted like Pinocchio's conscience.
Pinocchio.
Successfully.
Let me ask you a very fair question. What do you do successfully? Quickly.
Pinocchio saved himself only.
Maybe you can say that Jiminy warned him about the donkeys.
Yeah.
But Pinocchio had already started kind of
figuring that out because the other guy, I don't know.
Maybe
Whatever.
we're not giving Jiminy Cricket enough credit, but I just watched this movie. And this is the feelings that I have after it.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I didn't find him.
He didn't serve the purpose he was meant to serve in this movie, to me.
Agreed.
He was like a comic relief. Also, he's a pervert.
All the girls.
We didn't mention it because I was like, I'm not going to mention it. He's a pervert. There's a lot of moments during the movie where there's a pretty girl, a toy that is a pretty girl, a marionette, the blue fairy, and every single time Jiminy's like, well, he wiggles his eyebrows. He's like, oh, ooga. The big issue I had with this movie at the end was that you don't see what happens to all the multiple villains throughout the movie.
Yeah, there's really no comeuppance.
There's no justice served
for any of them.
You literally don't see any of them ever again or hear about them ever again.
And we never get were the little boy saved?
Yeah, I like to think Pinocchio ended up telling Geppetto about Pleasure Island, and Geppetto's like, we gotta call the cops.
Yeah.
But you don't see it. So that's my big gripe with the movie is that it doesn't feel like a full circle because you don't see what happens to any of the villains.
Okay, so what would you rate this movie
Okay.
0 out of 5 stars.
0 out of 5 stars. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 stars. I loved this movie. I know that it was really sad and dark and disturbing, but I think the message is a good one. Mm-hmm. Like, children, like, don't talk to strangers, be a good person, follow your dream, or no, make your wishes will come true.
Go off.
Well, that's how this, like, Disney's brand, even to this day, is like, if you dream it, you can do it. If you wish upon a star, your dreams will come true. This movie, I think, is the movie that started that whole thing. Because it started with Geppetto wishing upon a star.
Yeah.
And his dreams came true. That's a beautiful thing to me. I thought the movie was funny when it needed to be funny. Even when it didn't need to be funny, it was funny. And, yeah, I stand 4 out of 5 stars. Mm-hmm. What would you give it?
I hated this movie. I will never watch it again.
I would watch it again.
I think the animation was beautiful. Other than that, I really didn't like much about it.
So, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it a 2 out of 5.
So you're telling me that you liked Pinocchio better than... I mean, you liked Snow White better than Pinocchio?
Yes.
No way.
Pinocchio had too many villains. Like
But that's
said,
life.
That's true. Too many villains. There's a lot of loose ends. And it just wasn't for me. I will say. This movie was not for me. And there was just, when it was over, I wanted, like, I feel like they could have ended it with, like, a little shot of, like, all of those guys going to jail, maybe. I don't.
Yeah, well, that's what's keeping it from being 5 stars for me.
Yeah.
Is you don't see the villains being punished, which is a big problem for me. I do need my villains to be punished. I need to see
At least in the movies.
At least in the movies, yeah. No, in real life too. If you're against me, I want you to be punished.
Did you have a favorite song?
It's kind of by default. When You Wish Upon a Star.
Same.
It wasn't a musical. I don't.
Yeah, it wasn't like as musical.
Yeah,
by
they
any
were
means.
like what? I think probably 2 or 3 songs.
And a lot of them were like not full songs with like a chorus and stuff. It was more like a lot of humming and.
Yeah. So by default, it's When You Wish Upon a Star, which has become like the theme song for Disney.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Iconic. They're one of the more iconic songs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most iconic Disney song.
So.
Do you have a hottest character?
Yeah.
You go first.
It's the Blue Fairy.
I thought about that, and I know I've been really hard on him this whole time, but the hottest character to me is Jiminy Cricket. What? It was either him or Geppetto. There's something about Geppetto, but Jiminy Cricket, hottest character.
Geppetto is like a good-looking old man.
A daddy. He's a dad.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Geppetto.
Okay.
You've charmed me.
Ooh.
You've changed my answer.
I'm persuasive. You like a little daddy silver fox?
I love older men.
I like the movie.
I love that we're having like opposite experience.
Me
so
too.
You didn't like Snow White a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like Snow White more than I thought I would.
Snow White bored me. This movie had me enthralled the whole time. I literally was like, I told you, there's some points I forgot to take notes.
All right, we'll see you next episode.
All right, thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.